Hi, John Castle here, 68 Dude. Day 22 is all done, and I wanted to share today's topic with you, which is about your heart and the Atkins diet. There's been a lot of controversy and hearsay that Atkins is bad for your heart, but the problem is there's a lot of myths to go with that. The first one being that diets high in saturated fat cause heart disease. Well, I'm not saying whether this is completely true or not, but if you limit your saturated fat intake to about 10%, it's perfectly proven to be healthy for your dietary intake and your heart. So a common misconception that people get on Atkins and eat bacon at every meal and fatty sausage and meats that aren't exactly lean, and that's one of the problems, as I've discussed many times here in this whole Atkins experiment, that people go about it the wrong way and take advantage of the guidelines. So I'm not saying you're definitely going to destroy your heart if you're taking a high amount of saturated fat, but you're definitely not going to be as healthy as if you limited your dietary intake of saturated fats to 10% or less, which is the recommended daily intake. The next myth is regarding your heart and the amount of protein that's being taken in. Those with compromised kidneys may need to limit their intake to some extent just because of the overload that your kidneys go through in processing the protein. But if anything, higher protein intake is a positive thing. In fact, the study shown done in Japan that the opposite is actually true, as relations between protein intake and blood pressure in Japanese men and women, which was a circulatory risk and community study, showed that the higher protein intake actually lowered blood pressure. Higher protein intake is also known to lower bad triglycerides, and it will raise your good fats or HDL in your blood. Also, last thing I want to say is high carb intake has just the same argument against it as the Atkins diet, for example, because studies have shown that oxidative stress, inflammation of the joints, glycation, and coagulation of blood or blood clots have also been direct results of higher carbohydrate intake. So once again, this is more of to share the information of what I've gathered, but do your own research if you feel the need be. You can make an argument both ways, as there's no direct science arguing one school of thought about carbs being high or carb intake in general over low carbohydrate. So you make your decision based on what I present here, and also a little bit of your research on your own. But either way, things look good for lowering the carbohydrate intake, to say the least. Not necessarily endorsing that everyone do Atkins, but limiting your carbohydrate intake has obviously many benefits to it. The main one being a level blood sugar. So that's one thing you can't really argue, and that's the lesson for today.